All right, good evening, everyone. Firstly, a very warm welcome to all of those who are tuning into our session today. This is the last leg of the Choose France tour that is happening for the first time virtually online. And this is the last one of the last webinars that we have. For all those who already have been doing this since yesterday, meeting with amazing faculties online or just talking to us about any sort of queries or tuning into webinars, you probably have an idea of how this works. But if not, I will just give you a quick snapshot. So we'll just be talking about, for today, our webinar is the CV and SOP. So how do you draft these two documents? What do you have to take care about them? And we have an alumni with us who will speak to us and give us their own perspective on things. And me and my colleague today will be out there helping you. And firstly, my name is Soumya Jatwani. I'm the manager for the Campus France office here in Rajasthan. I have Mr. Shabri Kishore with me. He's the manager for the Kerala region. So his office is in Kochi. It's the Campus France Kochi office. We have Ritika Agarwal with us, who is tuning in from France at the moment. So she's going to be our alum, and she's a recipient of an amazing scholarship she will tell you about later. And then she's going to tell you how she actually got to, making these documents, which are the CV and the SOP. We have a little presentation for you. The one thing that I will definitely tell you guys is that all of this information is for you. So, either please keep your notepads or pens or something ready to take notes. If not, you can, we're the millennial generation, we're the fast generation. So you can totally take, screenshots or pictures or anything you want. It's not a problem. And I would actually suggest that you guys do this because we have some very interesting pointers to give you when you make the important documents of CV and SOP. So I'm just going to share my screen with you. And Shabri, in case you can't see it, please do let me know. And one last thing before we move on. Please, if you have any questions, do keep them for us. We have the last 10 and 15 minutes of this webinar to speak to you guys to solve your queries that you might have. So either you can put it in the chat box over here, or of course, then we can talk about them towards the end of the webinar. So that's it. Okay. Someone says that they're not able to hear me. I think maybe it's from your end, Shabri. Am I audible to you? Yes. So I'll just request, if you could check at your own end, why am I not audible? But thank you. Thank you for letting us know. Keep sending your comments in so that we can actually get to you. Okay. All right. So I'll share my screen now. Yes. Is it visible? Okay, thank you, Shabri. All right, so as I said, we're part of the Choose France tour. This has been organized by the French Embassy here in India and the Institut Français and Campus France. So, why a CVSOP? What is the purpose of a CVSOP? That is something we will cover today. So, firstly, what actually are the two documents, a CV and an SOP? We will be talking about them a little later. But because these two terms are very common, I mean, you must have heard of them at some point in your life. That what is a resume, a CV, an SOP, a statement of purpose? What is it? So we will get into that later. But the more important thing is that what really is the role? What is the importance of having these two very important documents? Why are they important? So, firstly, they are a representation of you. So, for someone who is a stranger to you and they do not know you, and I am talking in terms of a professional setting, if a professional person, they do not know you, who you are, and they only have two pieces of paper, documents to get to know you a little bit better. So then that is where a CV and an SOP actually represent you on paper. So the important thing is, as you can see on my slide, it's the you factor, it's the personalization factor. It's all about you. So yes, the structure stays the same, but how can you make it about you so that you are represented on a piece of paper? So that is the role of the actual thing. Now, where do you actually need it? Why do you need a CV? Why do you need an SOP? Whenever you're applying for jobs, whenever you're applying for scholarships, and especially when you're applying to higher education programs, for a PhD, a master's degree, even a bachelor's degree, any sort of degree that you're applying for when you want to go abroad, you will need a CV and you will need an SOP, especially because, you are applying to a country, a place where people don't know you. So how do they get to know about you? They actually see the paper. As I told you, they are a representation of you. Okay. And the actual aim of having these documents is speed dating your recruiter. Now, I don't know if you guys know what speed dating is, but I will come back. I will actually talk about that, come back to it later in the webinar when I will talk about a CV. So, what really a speed dating is. But for now, I'll ask my colleague Shabri. He will speak to you about what an SOP is, how do you draft it, what do you have to take care of. Okay, so I will pass the parole, as we say, to Shabri. All right, Shabri, on to you, and I will just mute myself.
Hi, a very good evening. Myself, Shabari Kishore. I am the manager for Campus France Kerala region. So, yes, I'm really excited to take this session. Why? Because this is the one of the most important documents which you need for your entire process. Not only with the admission process, it's a very valuable document which you need to have all the time with you. So let me start with one of the main document, which is an SOP, Statement of Purpose. So actually, so everyone will come with a lot of doubts regarding how to prepare an statement of purpose, how I can make that statement of purpose more attractive. So keep this in your mind. SOP is a piece of paper which you can sell yourself in front of an institution or in front of an employer. So this is a short description about yourself, saying about your background. Quickly, you are introducing yourself in a page or in a two-page. So it will open you a door towards an interview. So your employer or your institution will came to know that, okay, this student is a capable student to do a so-and-so program. So this SOP will give an overall idea regarding you within maybe 10 seconds. Yeah. So why it is important? So like everyone asks, like why I need to write an SOP? Like we can send a CV for my institution to brief about myself. Yes, of course, CV is one of the major important document. Meanwhile, SOP will also give an impression. It's give an understanding about your educational background, and it will help you to sell yourself. As I told you earlier, it will help you to sell yourself in front of your institution, and you can illustrate how you are a capable student to do this particular program. And it will help your viewer, the application viewer, to know how much interested you are towards this program. And this is one of a classic example. You can like showcase your communication skill and other vocabulary style. So it will give more add-on to your application if you have a very set professional statement of purpose. So it is one of an important document. Yes. So moving on to the next slide. So generally, this is the major question what we receive, how I need to write an SOP. Of course, I do have all the stuffs with me, but I don't know how to write the SOP. But this is the structure, this is the format of an SOP, how generally the students need to write. We really want you guys to write in this structure. So this will give you more impression. So first of all, there is an introduction. This introduction doesn't mean that you should introduce yourself, but you can introduce your a little bit of yourself and your academic interest and your other skills, other interests towards the domain. And you can mention your background. That will be the next step. In that background, you are going to elaborately say that you're about your academic qualification, your professional qualification. If you've done any internship, if you have any training experience, of course you can mention in that part, in the background part. And if you have a professional experience, if you are a person who having a like maybe 15 years of work experience, of course you can like showcase your experience and other skills. And like when we say about academic qualification, you can mention all the academic skills which you have, like academic qualifications you have, your schoolings, your college. If you attended any sort of certification which is related to the program which you opted for your higher studies, of course you can mention those informations as well. And the third part, why this course? Of course, as I told you earlier, this is the paper which you can sell yourself in front of your application viewer. So you should like impress your application viewer by saying why you selected this particular program. So in that part, if you can briefly discuss about the academic curriculum, it will be really good. For example, if you are a student who's going for an international business management in an XY institution, you can say this academic in this academic curriculum, this core subject is more attractive to me, and this is the future which I am looking forward. So I really want to do this program. So in that way, you can briefly discuss about the academic curriculum or the course modules, and and you can tell them what all skills you are going to gather while you are studying this program. So maybe as an example, like if you're going for an MSc International Business, maybe digital marketing might be a core subject, or they will be having a lot of uh, like things related to digital marketing. Of course, you can say that, yes, I want to do this program and this course modules, and this subject will give me more skills for the future business. So you can explain in this way. And the fourth part is your career goal. Yes, of course, you should tell them, while after completing this program, I'm planning to settle my career in so and so field. For that, this program is going to help me, or this academic curriculum is going to help me. So in this way you can explain, but keep this in mind. Don't say that you want to settle in a particular foreign country, or you want to find out a job, you want to settle down there. This is not a paper which say about your settlement. This is about your career and your other interests. So try to avoid that. Not try, you better you don't say that. Okay. And the fifth part, why this university? Yes, if I want to give you an admission to my institution, I should know that, like, why my university is attractive to you. So you can tell all the information what you gather through the Google page, or might be from other social media platform. This institution is having so and so accreditation, this institution having so and so alumni support, so this is going to help me. So you can briefly impress your application viewer. Okay, I need this university, yes, I really want to study in this university. And last part is just a small conclusion. You're summing you can sum up all the information you wrote above, and try to avoid the financial things, like I selected this university because this university is very cost effective. Try to avoid those kind of like negative voices, like you can avoid those parts. So these are the like major 6 steps you can follow while you are creating an SOP, and this will make your application viewer more impressive towards you. Yes. Yes. So, like, I think we already briefed all the things during the previous slide. So, but still, so these are the do's and don'ts while you're preparing your SOP. So, of course, your SOP should be smoothly readable. So I request, don't bombard your SOP with your vocabulary skill. It can be smoothly readable for your application viewer, and mention your academic background and use positive and active voice. As I told you earlier, don't say that this is institution is cost effective and this institution offer me part time. So avoid these kind of voices while you're preparing an SOP, and check grammatical errors twice. So I think right now, like, there are a lot of apps available in the Google Play Store. You can download and you can cross check your grammatical errors twice or thrice before you sending your SOP. And it should be honest and straightforward. So don't add unwanted informations to your SOP. Don't flood your SOP with unwanted information. Try to be very straightforward and honest, and try to avoid the following things. Do not exceed the word limits. So for example, as I told you in my first slide, the SOP can be one page or a 2 page, but keep in your mind, according to the institution's like requirement, it can be vary. Maybe some institution asks an SOP for 1,000 words. Of course, you should conclude your SOP within that word limit. So it can be vary, like time to time and institution to institution, HR to HR. And Do not use same SOP for all. So you are submitting the same SOP for your education, for job, for your internship, for your scholarship. Please don't do that. There are like fixed format for each and every SOP. So try to follow. Don't use the same SOP. No to plagiarism. So nowadays it's very easy to do a SOP. Straight away go to Google, download one, edit name, college, your program. Don't ever do that. Why? Because you do have your own style, your own language skill, your own interest, your own motivation. We need that. Try to put all of your information in that paper, not others. So please avoid this kind of plagiarism, and it won't look good. And do not mention your score like IELTS, GRE, and DELF, like you know that. And do not mention your interest to other institution and country. For example, generally students says that like I applied for XYZ institution, but the entry requirement was like little tight, so I applied to this institution. Please, please don't ever say like that. Or I applied to CCC country and the fund is huge, so I choose this country. Please, please don't use your SOP should be active and positive. Yes. Yes, here we go. Another thing like how I need to prepare, otherwise, how you need to prepare an SOP for your internship or for your job. So, generally, for job or for your internship, you should impress your employer how focused you are towards this area, how your profile is going to be otherwise how you are going to be an add-on for that company. So it should be in that way. Try to include your interest, your goal, you want to see yourself in your future. So like while working in this particular company, you can tell that I want to see myself in the future in so and so place. So this job is going to help me in that way. And you should mention like why you want to apply for this program. So don't say that I gone through the Google, so I randomly picked out some job, so I applied for this job. Please don't do that. You should have a clarity why you applied for this program. So you should incorporate that also. And of course the company should know that like how you are going to benefit that company. They can't randomly pick someone from the application. You should tell them like how you are going to benefit that company. So these are the few points, few tips you should keep in your mind while you are preparing an SOP for your internship or for your job. So yes, and that's it for the SOP. Not that's it, but we kept the final part for the last. So don't leave the session. So we are going to discuss more about the scholarship part, how you need to prepare the SOP for the scholarship. And now we are moving to another one of the important document, which is CV. And over to my colleague Saumya.
Yes, thank you so much, Shabri. Thank you. I think everyone who's tuned in must have seen that, these are some very important pointers that you have to keep in mind. And thanks to Shabri and his presentation that, we were able to find that out. So now, firstly, before we move on, there are some questions. Will the recording will be available? Yes, the session is being recorded and you can find it later on the Campus Trans India page. If you're not able to find that on Facebook, then you can always get in touch with us and then we can figure out a way for this recording to be sent to you. Okay. And again, keep your questions coming in. If you guys have questions, please do put it in the chat box and we'll take you towards the end of the session. Now I'll share my screen to tell you about the CV section of our webinar. So just a moment. Okay. Yeah. So is it visible, Shabri? Yes. Thank you so much. All right. One moment. Go on. Yes, thank you. All right. So we already know, you already heard about the SOP section of things. Now my turn is to tell you about this CV. And I'll take care of the screen later. All right. So one thing that before I move on and I'm going to tell you everything about a CV or a resume, the one thing that is important throughout an SOP and a CV is, as Shabri also mentioned, the you factor. The factor that it's not taken off of Google directly. It's all about you, how much you can tell another person, an employer, a recruiter, a teacher about yourself. So it has to be very, very customized. So make it for you. Of course, he's given you the structure, the format for the SOP, and now I will tell you the same thing for the CV. But maintain one thing: it's about you. It's about how great your life has been, how fulfilling, how much you have to offer, and not definitely from a very colloquial perspective, but rather from a very professional perspective. So let me tell you a little bit more about that. Okay, so a CV or a curriculum vitae or a resume, what does that actually mean? Normally, CV and resume words are used interchangeably, which means both of them almost mean the same thing. But in terms of a resume, it's more suited to a professional setting, and a CV is more suited to an academic setting. So when you're trying to, let's say, uh, well, not postulate, what I'm trying to say is in French. Basically, I'm sorry. My mind was working both in French and English. So, yeah, so when you are actually making your application for a job, resume is something that you focus on. And when it's more for an academic, you're applying to some place for studies, it's CV. The structure is pretty much the same. The understanding of what the document represents is pretty much the same, but resume is more heavy on your professional experience, while CV is more heavy on your academic experience. Okay, so it's basically a 1 page, maximum 2 pages document that is tracing your experiences and achievements. So everything you've done until now, you're going to trace that. The difference between a CV and an SOP is you're still telling the recruiter or the person who receives your document about yourself, but a CV is more of like a structured, very, very administrative in that sense, but an SOP is very personal. So because you're writing paragraphs, you're able to explain a lot of things about, let's say a degree that you did. But when you write an SOP, you're able to describe in detail what you picked out of that degree and what can actually help you from that degree into this new field that you're applying for. But for a CV, it's very, very administrative. I did this degree from here. This is the mark sheet. These are the marks. I did it from here to here. So it's very, very administrative. Okay. The aim again is for the person who's receiving the documents that they develop an interest in your profile, and you're able to do this only if it's very concise, clear, and a very catchy, attention grabbing CV, which does not mean that you end up using very colloquial language or very not so acceptable professional language. Of course, you have to make it catchy, but it's how you draft it and how on point, how to the point, how clear and concise the document is, which makes it catchy. And coming back to something that I said in the very beginning of this webinar, that it is the best way for you to speed date your recruiters. So I'll just give you a very quick example. Well, I'm sure the viewers tuning in, these are, millennials or the Gen Z generation, the very fast generation. If you want to meet someone today, you go on, a dating app. I'm not going to take any names, but you guys are aware of dating apps. And you only have 2 or 3 seconds to impress someone before you get swiped left or swiped right? So you only have 2 or 3 seconds. How do you make the most of those 2 3 seconds? What do you put on that actual document? What do you put on your profile that makes you attractive to another person? Well, this is the same exact situation, just on a professional level. So you're not trying to impress your recruiter to be friends with them. You're trying to impress them so that they actually pick you for an interview, as compared to the hundreds and thousands of other documents, other CVs they received for the same exact position. So you only have 4 or 5 seconds to, catch the attention or impress the person so that you're able to get on to the next stage. How do you do that? Okay. So you maintain a basic structure, because CVs, like SOPs, have a basic format. Okay, I'll explain to you in detail in the next slide, but these are the basic structures. This is how it works. The first part of a CV has to be your personal details. Okay. The second part is your professional experience, or like in a French CV, it's expérience professionnelle. In the third section is your educational qualification or formation. And the last part is your skills or the competence. Okay. Why I have put the two, the French and the English together, is because I'm going to take two examples, one of an English CV and a French CV, to show you how these are, similar in the sense of the aim, in the sense that you have to get the attention of the recruiter, but then they're a little different in the kind of information you provide, And then I'll also explain to you what do you actually put under these 4 basic sections of a CV. Okay, so on your left or right, I don't know how you're viewing this, but you can see that one of them is the English CV and one of them is the French CV. Okay, so the first section of both of them is your personal details. The difference that happens in an English and a French CV is in a French CV, you do put your nationality, you sometimes even put your gender. So you're giving them and your date of birth. So you're giving them very, very personal information, personal details about yourself. Whereas in an English CV, it could be for any country, an English speaking country, you normally just put your phone number, your address, and the email address on which they can contact you. Okay, you do not put like sort of personal details about yourself, because from an English perspective, it's considered discrimination that if they get to know more about you from the paper, that if you're a female or if you're a male or if you're somebody else, it's sort of considered discriminatory. But in a French system, that's not the case. So you do give your name, address, date of birth, nationality, email address, telephone number, and sometimes even gender. The other interesting thing is in a French CV, you have to have a photograph. In an English CV, as you can see, there is no photograph. So when you're applying to, let's say, a French university or a French job, you have to put your photo. Now, a photo does not mean that you put a photo from a dating app or from a sort of, let's say, another social media platform. No, it has to be a very professional photograph, sort of like a passport photograph where your face is visible, where they're actually able to make some sense of the photo, not a blurry one, not one from a wedding, a very professional, clear photograph. Okay, the one thing that you'll notice in an English and a French CV that is different is the personal statement. In an English CV, in a normal, let's say an Indian CV, you do mention 2 or 3 lines about yourself. This is a very important part of the CV, because this is in 2 seconds, you should be able to tell the person reading the CV who you are, what your areas of interest are, and what actually can you offer, or the sort of skills that you're offering in this specific job. But that is something you don't find in a French CV. Okay. The next thing is your employment history in the English one, as you can see, and the formation or the education in the French. Now here, the educational qualification and your professional experience, they can be the second or the third section, depending upon what is the most recent thing that you've done. Let's say if you just came back from a master's degree, so all your educational information goes first, right after your details, and then comes your professional experience. But if you are just coming out of a job, your professional experience comes first, and then comes your educational qualification. Because if you, let's say you were reading someone's CV and you're going from up to down reading their information, you don't want to be reading that they did their grade 12 in 2005 and then coming to the actual professional experience, which they probably had like 6 months ago. So you need to tell the person reading your CV that this is the most recent thing that I've done. This is the kind of skill that I've gathered. So it could be your education or professional experience. So this is interchangeable, but do maintain very clear, as you can see, very clear dates, very clear year, what role you were in, what was the name of the degree, very, very clear, very short, very concise. Do not go around, mentioning the name of the state you were in, the country, the continent. That is not needed. A very, very crisp, precise, because remember, you only have 4 or 5 seconds for that person to pick your CV instead of the other hundreds of people. Okay. Right. And the final thing is the competence or the skills. This is also a very important section, because here you will tell people about 2 things. It could be one, the languages you speak. So of course, if you are multilingual, if you speak more than 2 or 3 languages, it's a very important thing that the person recruiting you knows about that, because it gives a good impression that you're able to work with multiple people of different backgrounds, right? The other thing is your technical skills. So this is somewhere where you can mention that you're good at, let's say, MS Office or Google Suite or any sort of softwares that you know. So the skills section is any sort of skills that are not your experience or that are not your educational qualification. Okay. Also, one thing to take care of here is you can also mention your achievements over here, or you can also mention, let's say, publications, or you could mention the other skills that you might have, which are, well, not for the job, but you can mention. But please do remember, they do not want to know your areas of interest, listening to music, hanging out with friends. These are very, at least in today's time, I'm telling you, nobody wants to read that. You are in a very professional era. You're doing webinars like these, so you should be able to put very pertinent, very to the point information. That this is your area of interest. It could be that you're exploring a software. You're trying to do a startup. You're volunteering somewhere. This is something that you mentioned, not hanging out with friends. These are not considered they're not taken very well. Your CV is going to be moved around immediately. Okay. So it has to be one thing. It has to be clear. It has to be concise. It has to, in 4 seconds, you should be able to tell everything about yourself to the person reading it. And it also has to be to the job. So sometimes you might have had 5, 6 very varied different experiences. You volunteered somewhere, you were a translator somewhere, you worked somewhere else. But if your job or if the institution you're applying to is not even from the same field, sometimes it's good to leave out stuff. If your CV is going to be like a 2-page CV or a 3-page CV, better to not mention some things that are not actually important for the thing you're applying for, because it just makes it big, and the actual information that the person should know, they will not be able to go through it in time because they'd only take 4 or 5 seconds to read it. Okay, so that is the difference between an English and a French CV, but the aim remains the same. Keep it concise, keep it to the point, and keep it very, very clean and clear. So quickly, points to consider, the do's and don'ts. Most of them I've covered, but I'll quickly go through them. Firstly, use only one font. Don't go on using 4 or 5 fonts to make it more exciting to look. It becomes very hard to read. Do not. Just one font, a Times New Roman or an Arial. That would be fine. One of them. I actually put it on the wrong side of the slide, so I'm sorry about that. Okay. The most recent experience first, as I already told you. Don't use long sentences. Like I said, they only have 4 or 5 seconds. So just bullet points, like masters in this, experience here, very quick. Of course, please check the spelling and grammar. Nobody wants to know that you are not able to give the right information about yourself properly. I mean, it's only 4 seconds and they need you to be actually making some effort into correcting your spellings. Okay, so please make sure that is done. Irrelevant and old information, not needed, like I already told you. And photo, of course. Do not put a photo from your grade 12 teachers meeting or something, the most recent photograph, because it's a way for them to know you, right? So please use a very recent relevant photograph. A PDF version. Please do not send your CVs to anybody, even an SOP, to anybody in the Word format, because they can be edited and later on you have no control over it. Always a PDF file, okay? And the last thing for the do's is the LinkedIn. So if you have LinkedIn, if you have a really good profile, which today is very helpful to have on a professional setting, so you can add your link to it right at the top, right under your name. If we go back, so right under the name where you have your address and everything, if you have a website, if you have a blog website, you can put it all up there, okay? All right, and do not fake facts. Do not try to oversell yourself. Whatever you have, I'm sure if you're applying to something, there is some reason that you're applying and you're competent enough for it. So please first look at the job description or the school's curriculum. Know that you're going there for a reason, and then tell them about yourself because you have a lot to offer. But don't just go on making stuff because they will find out. I mean, it's the social media age. Everything is possible. They can find out. You won't be able to fake it much. All right. And these are some important tools that from my side, I think can really help you. The first one is in French. And there's a really amazing 1-minute video from a recruiter who's actually trying to tell you what they do, how they actually assess a CV in 4 or 5 seconds. So it's just a minute long. It's in French. So if you speak French, this is amazing for you. The second one is from Reed. This is one of the organizations in UK. So you can always look at them for an English CV and for a French CV, the first one. And the last thing I'll tell you is about Canva.com, because these guys have already made amazing templates online. So you just have to go there and look for stuff. So I'm just going to show you what the website looks like. Yes, give me a moment. All right. So we're on Canva.com. Now, if you go to templates on Canva and you'll click resume, which is, like I said, is just like a CV, just a bit more professional. They have all of these amazing templates already made for you. So all you have to do is enter your own details. Of course, like I said, because it's a personalized document, it's about you. Enter the correct details, enter everything about you. But then, of course, these guys have made it easier for you. If there is a design sort of company you want to apply for, you can look at design specific or more tilting towards design sort of CV. So it's very, very helpful to you. But that's it from my side. I'm going to pass the parole back to Shabri, and he can tell you everything about an SOP when required for a scholarship. And also, our alumni can help us more about that. So, thank you.
Hey, thanks a lot, Soumya. Before I'm going to the presentation, let me welcome our alumni, Ms. Ritika. She's a scholarship holder. And Ritika, can you please introduce yourself to our viewers?
Hi, good evening. I'm Ritika Agarwal. So I'm in Paris right now. I'm studying in Paris School of Economics, doing my master's in applied economics. And I'm really excited to be here and hopefully whatever I have to offer will help you guys. So yes, excited to be here and thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Ritika. Actually, this is a small tip. I don't want to give an elaborate session on the scholarship SOP, but let me tell you a few things. For scholarship, the SOP can be different upon to the scholarship which you are applying for. So generally for our scholarship, our SOP is kind of a question answer session, like a question and an answer format. So technically you can go to our scholarship website and you can be in touch with our scholarship team. They will help you with that. But still, these are the few tips which you can consider while you are preparing your SOP for the scholarship. So you can explain them how this program and the project is going to value their future. Explain why you choose France as a study destination. Of course, if I want to give you a scholarship, we should know that, like why you choose France as a study destination. So you should explain that, and you should explain why you have applied to the French institution and where you have been accepted. So it's an important point which you can't forget. You should mention that and explain why you are worthy to or why you deserve the scholarship. So you should sell yourself that you are a potential student and you are worthy for the scholarship. And for on that note, I think Ritika can explain a few of her experience regarding how she prepared her SOP for her scholarship process. Over to you,
Thank
Ritika.
you. Thank you so much. So basically, I received the Charpak AME Master Scholarship. So I'm going to talk about that. So basically, this is a really good scholarship for any student who wants to study in France, of course, because it includes tuition waiver as well as a living allowance. So it makes life much easier here, guys, because France is expensive and especially to live in. And so that way, if you guys are looking to study in France, getting a scholarship is a really, really good step towards actually securing your finances to come here and study. It makes your experience easier and like so much better because you feel like you can go out there and experience a lot of things that you might feel constrained by later. But like like the way I'm going to talk about it is first, I'm going to talk about how you can find out these scholarships. Second, I'm going to go to how you actually prepare for a scholarship like this. How do you write about it? And third, I'm just going to walk you through the questions that I had for Charpa, but like it's just going to give you a particular idea about what to include in a SOP anyway. So, for getting
Ritika,
a
before you
scholarship,
go on, just one
yeah.
thing quickly. I'll have to ask you to keep it brief within 5 minutes. I'm sorry, we're running a little bit late. Sorry.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay. So I think I'll just give you tips then. The thing with preparing for a scholarship is the first thing that you should do is wherever you want to go, check out if you have alumni from your school, from your college, from your university, or from like people you know around you. If you have an alumni there, it makes it much easier. You can connect with them and ask them a lot of questions directly. And believe me, reaching out to people who have got the same scholarship or who've done the same course helps you infinitely because they can tell you how they wrote their scholarship SOPs, and it will give you a lot of perspective about how you should write yours. Second thing, the only other tip that I want to give you is definitely become active on LinkedIn. If you really want to get further in your professional interest, whether it be studying abroad or working abroad, LinkedIn is like the place to be, guys. Be there, contact people and get in touch. Do not hesitate, because 9 out of 10 people, okay, 7 out of 10 people really want to help you, and they will help you. So don't hesitate. Ask. If they say no, they say no anyway, right? So just don't hesitate. Now I go towards like the SOP. So the great part is that Sabri's presentation about the SOP structure is actually pretty similar to how you would want to write your scholarship SOP as well. So that way, I don't have a lot to cover about the specifics, because you can follow the same kind of format. The thing that I would like to tell you is that you need to follow the word limit specifically and keep it brief. And when you're keeping it brief, that means you want to like tie down the professional aspect, the fact that you're choosing this country, and the cultural aspect in like very brief sentences. So you can be like, I want to study in France because it is a developed country. What will a developed country offer to you? Why will the cultural aspect make your experience better? And why will this course make it better? In like a particular, say a paragraph. You do not want to address a lot of different things in a lot of different paragraphs, because you just don't have the word limit for it. Second is that Sabri mentioned that you shouldn't talk about cost effectiveness. My only point here is, even if you want to talk about it, it should be positive, right? You should be like, France is offering me affordable but like the best education in the world as well. So like that makes it like my number one destination, because why shouldn't I go there, right? So it should be like a very positive outlook towards the country. Third, that Sabri mentioned correctly, that do not compare institutions in your SOP. Do not explicitly mention any institution. You can be like, I choose this institution because so and so, so and so, so and so fits my purpose. But I do not want to say London. I choose this over London. I choose this over US. You do not want to go there. Just keep it a little ambiguous in that sense, but also explain why the institution you're choosing is the institution you want to study in, right? A last part, that you really want to mention that these skills that you're going to develop in France are really going to help you in life. And you want to be a little emphatic on that. You want to like emphasize on it a little more, because that is exactly why you want to go in the first place, because you feel like this course has something to offer to you that only this place is offering to you, right? And that should be sort of complete. So basically, you want your SOP to have why you're interested in the course, why you're interested in the country, but you also want it to be complete. How is this going to help you in your life? How is it going to help you in your goals? You want that. And one thing that's really important is, because you're trying to cover so many things, you should keep in mind, make people read your SOP and tell them to identify whether there's a flow, because every SOP should read nicely, right? It should be like it shouldn't feel like, you've divided it into sections and you're just trying to connect it with like arrows. It should flow. So you should have like try to read it and try to see, it should seem like you've written it as you would be trying to explain your situation to someone. And yeah, grammar, guys, please check your grammar, because we don't, since it's anyway a very brief thing, you do not want to be making mistakes. I understand that it's not that easy, but you should seek help for it and ask people to read your SOP, so that you can just be doubly sure about the grammar. So one thing that I really want to stress about is, there are scholarships which are need based, and then there are scholarships which are merit based. If you want to talk about your financial condition in a need based scholarship, that makes a lot of sense. You can talk about it a little more. Then you would talk about it in a merit scholarship. When you're writing about, in a merit scholarship, you mention your financial condition in say one line. You do not extend it beyond that, because it's a merit scholarship. They will not really focus on the fact that you really need that money that much. They're really looking forward to what do you have to offer. So one really nice point that you can mention is that you really want to, you think that you are really good and you want to be a part of this alumni network. So you will benefit from the alumni network, and also you can give back to the alumni network. If you can tie out your skills like that, it'll be a really, really good thing for the scholarship committee, because that way they're looking at you as not only a person who's receiving something, but also as a person who might give back to the college, to the alumni network, right? So like it will really make you a good candidate. And if you can mention that, I mean, yeah, super cool. Last
Ritika,
thing is that,
I'm really
yeah,
sorry to chip
sorry.
in. No, no, I have to chip in
Yeah.
just because we'll actually just go offline. But one thing,
Okay,
thank you so
okay.
much. Really sorry for chipping in and making it short, but you
No,
gave
no,
us
no, no,
very,
that's
very
okay.
practical advices. So we're very thankful for that. That it was
Oh,
not,
no
theoretical, it was
problem.
very practical. So I have already answered to all the queries in the chat box. So if anyone else has anything else, you can contact us outside of this webinar. Please go to the Campus France India website. But thank you so much for everyone who has tuned in and for amazing questions, and for Ritika and Shabri to give us very, very pertinent details, very practical advices. And that's it for the Choose France tour for this year. Please meet us next year, hopefully in an actual location. If not, you guys stay safe. And Ritika, you take care in the lockdown. We hope everything goes fine for you. Thank you so much
Thank you
and
so
good night,
much.
everyone. Thank you. Bye bye.
Night.